Samsung just announced their two new phones coming out August 21st. Rumors had it that they were going to actually announce it 1 month earlier than Apple, and rumors were correct. They pretty much had to announce it or release it 1 month earlier than Apple, because if you know anything, the S6 hasn't sold real well, honestly. So they had to get a leg up on Apple to release it 1 month earlier. And the two models they actually are releasing are this S6 Edge Plus, and they're also releasing the Note 5. In terms of build quality, both phones are going to be a metal body with a glass back. And I have first experience testing one out. I did get to test one out for a little bit, and I can say they're both very slippery phones. But most people are probably going to slap on a case anyway, so it's not a big deal. Another thing is, since they're going with the S6 design, there will be no removable battery, and there will be no micro SD card, so there won't be any upgradable storage if you need more storage. The couple capacities they're coming in are 32 gig and 64 gig. A 128 gig has not been announced yet, but who knows in the future if they will release a 128 gig. They may well release a 128 gig in the future, but no plans to release one have been announced yet, so there's not one in the current making right now. Now, they do come in a couple of different colors. I think the Note 5 comes in silver, titanium, and it also comes in black and white. And the S6 Edge Plus comes in gold, and it comes in black, I think, for those. And if you're getting the S6 Plus Edge, you can only get the 64 gig in the black version at this time. You can't get the 64 gig in the gold one. So if you wanted gold, just be ready to only get the 32 gig. At the moment of this recording, you can only get 64 gig in black S6 Edge. And the Note 5 comes in 32 and 64 gig. I'm not sure about the colors on that one, so you will have to check availability to see what color and what gigabyte you do want on that phone. In terms of the processing specs of both of these phones, they are going to be the same in terms of power. One's not better than the other. They're both going to be rocking the same internal specs. And on paper, they look like a powerhouse of a phone, both of them. But until we really get one in our hand, we really don't know how it's going to perform. One thing they did do, since the phones are both slimmer, they are going to only have a 3,000 milliamp battery. Unlike the older Samsung phones, which had a much bigger battery on some of the older Note phones and things like that. So until we actually test it out, we don't know if the battery life is going to be any good, because realistically, what's the most important part of a phone? The most important part of a phone is going to be the battery life. What's the point of having a supercomputer in your pocket if the battery is dead? So hopefully the battery is going to be good. Now I'm going to run down the spec sheets and talk about some of the specs the phones has. They both are going to be rocking a Android Lollipop, and of course a year to a year and a half down the road they will be getting Android M, whatever they want to call it, but it will get Android M, of course. They both are going to be rocking a quad-core processor inside. Two quad cores, excuse me, so it's going to be octa-core for both of them, which is going to be super, super nice. And they're also going to be some of the first phones on the market to actually run 4 gig of DDR4 RAM, so that's going to be very, very sweet. You should have no hiccups in the Android operating system with the octa-core processor and also 4 gigs of RAM. It should be a very smooth phone to operate, very nice. Now, in terms of camera, they're going to be rocking 16 megapixel camera on both of the backs, and they're also going to be rocking a 5 megapixel on the front of both of them. The screens are both going to be quad HD. They're not going to be 4K, unfortunately. We all thought it might be 4K, but no, it's not 4K. Maybe in a year and a half later, they might make one next year that's going to be full 4K screen. But right now, it's not 4K screen. But the back camera on both should shoot 4K video. It's going to be very, very nice. And the PPI of the screen is like 561. If I do believe, it's going to be a very crispy screen to look at, so you won't have to worry about that. And technically, a 4K screen is going to be overkill anyway. Even 1080p is still overkill, honestly. 720p will get you by, but I'm still glad they're very high PPI phones and Quad HD phones, so they should be very good. But knowing Quad HD does take a lot of juice to power, so they only gave us 3,000 milliamp. But the great thing about these two new phones, they're going to have quick wireless charging, which is something Samsung has just touted and just announced. Basically, what quick wireless charging is. You plop it on the wireless charger, and in 10 to 15 minutes you should get about 10 hours of battery, which is amazing for phones. That's something the Nexus devices have been doing. I think the Nexus 6 has that. You plop it, you plug in the charger, and in 10 to 15 minutes you get about 6-7 hours of battery. It's good for those people that are power users that need to use their phones heavily throughout the day, which is going to be very, very nice. And they also have the new LTE Cat 9 speed. So if your carrier upgrades their LTE speed, which some of them are in the year to year and a half from now, you'll be able to get the fastest speeds LTE provides. And they're also going to be providing all the Wi-Fi bands, A, B, G, N, even AC, so you can get the fastest Wi-Fi speeds possible. Overall, on paper, like I said, these are going to be powerhouses of a phone, but until we actually test them and play with them, we won't know for sure, especially since the battery is only 3,000 milliampere. Now, to be honest, I am rocking the Note 2, so this is going to be a very big upgrade for me in terms of specs and everything. So for me, it's a really big deal for me since I am still rocking that old Note 2. The Note 2 only has 2 GB of RAM, quad-core, 720p screen, so this is a very big bump for me in terms of a new phone, so I am very happy to get these phones. And realistically, if you had to choose a new phone, I would honestly go with the S6 Edge Plus, because to be honest, since they're both having the same specs, which one are you more likely to use? The Edge or the pen inside the Note 5? I would honestly go with the S6 Edge Plus, because most people don't even use the Note pen anymore. It's good for writing down notes and stuff like that, but you're really not going to be using it much. One thing Samsung has shown us with the new Note and the Note pen is it's going to feel like you're writing on paper. It's going to feel more realistic, like you're actually writing on a real paper. And second of all, with the new Note, you can actually write when your screen's locked or your screen's turned off. You can actually write on it, and when you put the pen back in, it'll save your note. So if you have to make a quick note, which is really, really cool. And the new Note is so thin, they actually had to put a button on the actual pen, a click button, just like a ballpoint pen. When you click on it, it actually removes it from the actual pen holder. And you can actually click the pen too when it's outside the phone, but it doesn't do anything. The pen just clicks off and on if you just want to play with it or something like that. Then you put it back in the phone. Now on the S6 Edge Plus, they're supposed to be having a new feature on there to where when you swipe over from the Edge, you can actually put your favorite apps that you use a lot on the Edge. So you can actually access your 5 or 6 favorite apps you use a lot, and you can access them instantly, which should be very, very useful compared to what the Note has to offer. The main reason the Note line was actually made was because it's actually a souped up S series phone for the longest time. If you had the S3, S4, S5, and then you went over to the Note 2, Note 3, Note 4, they're all souped up versions of the S series. So a lot of people bought it just off of specs. But now since the S6 Edge Plus and the Note 5 have the same specs, it's really no competition. It's just whether you want the Edge or the Note or the pen in the Note. And for me, the S6 Edge is going to take it. So that's the phone I'm probably almost 100% sure I'm upgrading to, because I'm guilty too. I never really used the pen a lot either, like I told you at the beginning of the video. So I'm really excited to get these phones. I am going to get one coming in August the 21st, so I will be able to play it like on release day, or maybe 2 days after release day. I'll be able to get my first experience, and the one that I'm getting is the S6 Edge Plus, so I'll be able to test that one out. Unfortunately, I won't be able to test out the Note 5, but it should be the exact same experience as the S6 Edge Plus in terms of like the operating system, in terms of like how well it performs and everything like that. So overall, I am very excited to get these phones to come in and play with them, or play with the Edge at least. They should be very good phones. And before I head out of this video, I'm going to call it on video. Now, since the Edge is actually out on the market, there's no real reason for the S series to be around, like the S5, the S6, the S7. What they should do is just keep the Edge, because there's really no benefits of going to the regular standard S series. What Samsung should do is just make the Note line and make the Edge line, and people who want like the Edge buy the Edge. It's just basically the S6 or S7 versions, and then people who want the Note, they buy the Note. But besides that, one thing that I'm going to call right here on video is maybe a year to year and a half. It may not come true, but my predictions are that they might make a hybrid. A Note Edge They might call it, or they might call it an Edge Note, where they have the Edge with a pen, or they have the Note with an edge on the side. I'm calling it. It may not ever happen, but those are just some of my thoughts on upcoming Samsung Galaxy phones. I honestly think they should kill the S series, because after here, most people are going to buy the Edge, or should buy the Edge in my opinion. And then if they want the Note, they buy the Note, because realistically, Samsung has too many models on the market. That's one problem with Samsung. That's why they lost a little bit of money this year, because they're the only company that has way too many models. They have like the S6 Mini, the standard S6, the S6 Active, the Note series. They have way too many phones on the market. They don't really need all those phones. They make the Edge versions, then they make the Note versions, or they make a hybrid version, and that's it. They don't need all these phones on the market. They just need about 2 or 3 models, or just 2 models, and boom, there you go. That'll satisfy most people on the market. And anyway, peace out. I'll see you guys later in my next video. I'm out.